Welcome to Covenant Conversations. My name is Kyle Burkholder, and I'm joined today on the podcast by Robert McMahan. Robert is our connection director here at the church, and I'm going to ask him about all things Disney. Robert is a Disney fan. He's been to the parks multiple times. He and his wife have intimate connections at the park, and I want to see how can we learn from what one of the world's best hospitality companies is doing so that we might be better at being hospitable in the kingdom and welcoming outsiders in. So I think you're really going to enjoy what Robert has to say. And without further ado, let's get into today's conversation. Welcome to Covenant Conversations. My name is Kyle Burkholder. I'm joined today by Robert McMahan. Robert is on our church staff as our connection director. And I've invited him here for a specific purpose with a specific question in mind. I'm going to first let him introduce himself to you, a little bit more about his family, where he's from, his favorite type of soup in the winter. I don't know what he's going to say. Robert, tell us more about you so people get to know you, and then I'll introduce why I invited you here today.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm usually behind the scenes on this deal, so it's a different vibe to be in front of the camera. But my name is Robert. I live in Bowling Green, attend Covenant Church. I'm the connection director here, and my wife and I moved to Bowling Green far, far, far away from our hometown of Napoleon, which is 30 minutes away. We joined staff with Crew, or Campus Crusade for Christ, and are enjoying a dual ministry life. She's still full-time on campus while I'm full-time at the church. We have two beautiful boys, and enjoying that young kid family life at this point. So
Perfect.
That's us.
Okay. We'll learn about your soup later, maybe.
Yes.
So you have two boys, and you recently, for everyone to know, you recently went to Disney World with kids for the first time you've ever gone with your kids. But that was not your first trip to Disney.
No.
So what I invited Robert to do is to come on, and what I asked him is to tell me three things the church needs to learn from Disney World, and you're going to figure out why he's an expert to tell us that. Because now I get to ask Robert, what is your Disney World experience? What is Jenny's Disney World experience? Why is Disney a thing in your life? So give us your Disney backstory before I dig into what do they do that we, the people of God, could learn to do better. So Disney, Robert, Jenny, go.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't say I am the expert of all experts. There are so many more people who know more about Disney, go more often than I do, and yet it is something that I love. And so I can at least talk from a place of passion and experience in that regard. Like many young children, my parents took me when I was, 8, 9, 10, something in that range. So I have early childhood memories of being at Disney World. It was a big deal. Went a couple different times. My parents ended up having a timeshare nearby. And so it became sort of a fairly regular, every other year maybe, family vacation spot. And that was a part of that trip in Florida. My wife also had similar experiences. She had an aunt in California, she's still living. And so she's been to Disneyland as a kid, band trips, choir trips in high school. And so these things just kind of have happened. And then in college, Jenny, her degree was tourism, leisure, and event planning. And part of that degree program was to intern in somewhere in that field, and an option was to intern at Disney. And so she was a cast member at Disney as a college intern, and became sort of the expert of the two of us, and lived there for a whole semester, lived and breathed it inside and out. And so she was the expert, and I kidnapped her when the time was done to pick her up from her time there. She said I stole her from her home, and so we've sort of always shared that love. And she had this insider knowledge being a cast member, and we've sort of made it a fairly regular habit, just the two of us, to go back whenever we're able to do so. Certainly not an every year thing, but definitely something when we can do it, that's what we want to do. We love to have fun. So Disney is that for us.
Okay. So you're Disney people, and I want to embrace the fullness of your Disney so that we can learn. Because anybody who's listening along, anybody who's watching, we all know that whatever your thoughts on whether you like Disney movies or you care about Disney parks or any of the things, Disney is renowned for excellence in almost everything they do. And so what I wanted to do with you is sort of merge your two worlds of your leisure world and your work world, and see if you could tell us more about how you see the church could learn from Disney World. What could we do that you see there that might impact kingdom things here? And so I'm gonna just ask you, what is the first thing, if you have three things, what is the first thing that the church could learn from Disney?
So as the connection director, a lot of what my focus is at the church, specifically on Sunday mornings anyway, is thinking about the guest experience and everybody's experience, of course, but especially the guest, who they don't know anybody, they don't know where to go. How can we help the guest in that experience? And as I think about that on a regular basis, and then, like you say, in our leisure world, we end up going to Disney, I go, whoa, they do that really, really well. As a guest, I always know where to go. I always feel confident. I always feel seen. I like all the things that I hope as a connection director to gift a guest who walks through our doors. I feel regularly gifted in those regards as a guest at Disney World. And so it has caused me to think from time to time, like, okay, what is it that they're doing though that achieves those things? So the first thing I would really say is everything's intentional. So intentional is maybe a good word, but they're just so radically accommodating to a guest. They're going to bend over backwards to ensure you are seen and taken care of and have a good experience as far as it's possible on their end. I know even there's stories of Walt Disney himself walking through the parks, and one of his desires was that Disney World would be a clean place. So the perception of it would be clean, and he would count how many steps it took him to go through a hot dog and then need to throw away a wrapper in order to figure out how far should trash cans be, like what's the minimum distance a trash can should be throughout the entire park, anticipating the need of a guest before they even had to ask the question, like, oh, I guess I have trash now, oh look, there's a trash can. And so they're just radically accommodating and anticipating needs, and that's something that I think about regularly too.
So am I to assume that when no one is around and you're in the building by yourself, that you're drinking from a cup of coffee in the 8th row of the sanctuary and then measuring the number of steps it takes to get to the nearest trash can?
Not quite to that level, but you'd be surprised the number of times that I have curiously, from the outside view, walked out to the parking lot and walked into our building, pretending that I'm a guest, and what do I see and what am I coming across? So not quite to that level, but yes, I'm thinking these things for sure.
So Walt Disney is the tip of the spear in being radically accommodating. But clearly it's the cast members who are doing it throughout the journey and someone's visit there. So the same is true if you can be doing all the work you want to do behind the scenes, but it really requires the body of Christ, the actual every single one of us that's hosting. We're all hosting, it's our home. What does that look like for us to be radically accommodating then?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just to take it to a Sunday morning, I mean, we're talking real specific to like Sunday morning church, but there's a whole host of volunteers who are the ones, like cast members at Disney, that are doing the things. They're the ones who are being accommodating. We have greeters at the door and people serving coffee and someone ready and attentive at the info center to answer any questions, to help people give confidence in their day, an usher to help people find their seats, to prepare the sanctuary. All these different things are happening, and it's all individuals who are doing it. And so, yeah, as I think about those people doing the work, it's often about seeing people as they come through. That it's not just the task. I tell our Connect team doing these things, our hospitality team, that we all have different tasks, but we all exist in our posts for the same reason, and it's to accommodate someone who God sends our way. We believe God is sending people our direction all the time at church and just throughout our lives. And so, are we ready to receive them? And are we seeing them as they do so?
That's good. So I'm not a volunteer on the hospitality team. I'm not serving coffee. I'm not an usher. What do I do? What is radically accommodating about me sitting 2 rows down from somebody I don't know? You told me a story once about buttons. I don't remember what the story was about buttons, but their buttons were involved, and maybe that's a different one of the things I need to learn. But what is the way that a non-team member, so like I just show up to church on Sunday, what does it look like for me to practice what you're talking about, radically accommodating? How do I practice that? Just being me, showing up at 9 or 11 to go to church.
Yeah, so the button story you're talking about, one of the trips Jenny and I took to Disney, there's buttons that you can wear. And they celebrate all sorts of different things. It's my birthday. I'm here because a lot of people go to Disney like on an occasion. It's our anniversary. It's my birthday. I'm celebrating who knows what. And you can wear a button, and they'll put your name on it. And everybody, all the cast members who see that button, it's an indication to them to congratulate you on whatever that thing is. Hey, happy anniversary. Hey, happy birthday. And I've worn a couple of these buttons, and it somehow surprises me every single time that they know something about me, that they see me, that they see I'm not just, how many countless thousands of individuals are pumping through these lines for a ride, getting popcorn and turkey legs and all the things, and yet they saw me. And it's so simple because I'm wearing a button, so I'm like, hey, see me. And yet it's profoundly impactful that I felt seen. And so that's something that I think anybody can participate in.
Your name is on it though, and that maybe that's the thing that I would jump on, is going, do they call you by name? Does the Buzz Lightyear, or does the person at the line, or does the person with the turkey leg, are they saying, hey, Robert? Like, what is that tell me like one interaction. What does that experience look like, feel like when you walk up and you got their button on?
Yeah, I don't know that they do the name so much, but each button is different. And so the fact that they would know that specific detail is personal enough, I think, that it gets across that same effect. Yeah, and so you just feel seen.
So they're paying attention one way or the other.
Right.
So for us, I go, well, that's the thing. The thing is what if everyone I didn't recognize, my lack of recognition of who this person is a button in and of itself. I'm going, I don't know who you are. And for us internally, we talk a lot about names. I don't know your name. And so I need to know your name so you feel seen, because you talked about feeling seen in the midst of thousands. As our church has grown and there's, 400 or 500 humans that come through on a Sunday morning, to be seen personally, to be known on some level, to show up the next week and have somebody remember your name can be sort of world changing. Is that a good place for us to start? Is just find somebody I don't know their name and say, hey, what's your name?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this can be hard for us. Like, it sounds so simple, and it can be incredibly hard because I am a systematic individual, a person who loves routines. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I do those things. And I think that can be said for a lot of people who, I know what to expect when I come to church. I'm excited to see my friends. I'm excited to maybe grab that cup of coffee. I don't know what you're excited for, but you have a certain kind of rhythm that you go throughout your Sunday morning or any day of the week. And to break that rhythm and accommodate someone else, to see them as an individual, is radical. And it takes a little bit of effort. And so, yeah, being a systems guy, I am the first in line to admit that this can be difficult to kind of break those patterns and see the individual. And that's why I think it's why it's so impactful, because I think everybody recognizes you don't have to do that. You're going out of your way to do something like that. And so I think that's why it can be so impactful.
That's a big deal. And it's on two levels. Like on one level, you're saying you are going out of your way. You're breaking your rhythm. You're doing a thing. And I would argue on the other level, that's both true. And on the other side, it doesn't cost you anything. Like accommodating doesn't cost you anything. The same way that the person selling you a churro in the park at Disney, it doesn't cost them anything to say happy anniversary while they hand you the churro instead of saying have a great day while they hand you the churro. That little hint of recognition is something that is the same for them. For us, getting to know someone's name or stopping and talking to them and that 30-second interaction, realizing why they're here, where'd you come from, whatever, that again, accommodation doesn't cost us. And it's getting out of the scarcity mindset maybe that it does. Like, this breaks my routine, or this is not what I want to do. And it's like, no, actually, this is beneficial for the whole kingdom. And it's a bonus to my routine. It's not a breaking of my routine. So maybe even that's helpful for people who are like, I just kind of don't want to go to church and work. Like, it's not work, it's blessing. So that's maybe a good radically accommodating. Doesn't cost us anything. We got a button story. We're one button in. What is the second thing that you saw? The second thing we can learn? Where are you going to take us for thing number 2?
Well, I think we blended the first two, to be honest. It was radically accommodating and seeing the individual. And so there's this blend of sort of what we've been talking about. The systematic routine thing is anticipating needs. That's Walt Disney walking through and figuring out how many steps every trash can should be, anticipating needs, but then seeing the individual and being aware enough not to just robotically beep bop your way through life. And when God sends someone your way, you're interruptible enough to respond to the individual. I think about Jesus and the woman who reached for the hem of his garment, and he was doing a very specific thing in that moment. He was on his way to heal someone, and yet here was someone else who needed healing, and he was interruptible enough to recognize and respond and give her the time of day and acknowledge her faith. And that's something that I think we would all aspire to. Yeah.
That's interesting. And I wouldn't have thought of it that way until you said it, that being interruptible, see if I can formulate this right, real time. Being interruptible is, in a sense, allowing your agenda to be subsumed for a minute. We all show up with a thing we're here to do, or a thing we want to get out of it, or a thing we want, like we have somebody I want to connect with, whatever. The interruptibility is the willingness, maybe, when you say see the individual, usually the individual I'm seeing and serving is self. And so this is almost the selflessness you're prescribing of going, if I make others, if I put others before myself, then I will by nature remain interruptible, and I will by nature see individuals. But I got to get myself out of that spot of the prime individual. It's got to be me after them. Is that a fair representation of kind of how that would work? Because I think that's how it would work in a park or in a hospitality setting too. Like, if I'm picking up trash and I'm the trash guy at Disney, I'm going trash to trash. And someone asks me a question, I'm bothered if it slows down my workflow. But if they're my first priority, then I'm thrilled that I get to serve someone else acutely in the midst of my other thing. Is that a fair way to kind of recast that whole idea?
For sure. Yeah. Jenny has even said to me before, she said, I would love to be a trash person at Disney, because this attitude just is pervasive throughout every position, no matter if you're a trash person or you're in helping with a queue or something. Everybody's.
Do they call them trash people? I have to stop you because
I'm so sorry.
Can you tell me? Somebody needs to Google this. Someone Google this. Email robert@bgcovenant.org and tell us what the actual title is, because I think a whole host of trash persons are now offended by your characterization of them, and I just want to point that out and make sure that that's. Again, robert@bgcovenant.org. Subject line, trash people. Okay, continue. Whoa. Jenny wants to be a trash person. We would never call them that, but you guys did. Where are you going with that?
Jenny would love to be a custodial staff of some sorts, because this attitude is just everybody. It's everywhere, and they're looking for these opportunities. It's not even just that they're like willing to be interrupted; they're actually looking for the opportunities, and they're, again, in this radical accommodation sense, they're actually prepared for these encounters to happen. They're expecting them to happen. They're expecting that there will be an interruption, that there will be an opportunity, and that, I mean, I know pin trading is a whole thing. I never personally have gotten into that, but often custodial staff will have like pins to share with children, or a sticker or something. They're just ready, or somebody's trying to get the perfect selfie of a castle or the tree of life in the background at Animal Kingdom, and they're going to pause and say, "Hey, can I take that picture for you?" And opportunities, they're just ready for it. They're looking for them.
Well, this is fantastic. Producer Jake just sent a note through that they are called custodial hosts or custodial hostesses, which is actually genius, because the title matters. Mm-hmm. What if we thought of ourselves as hosts on a Sunday morning? What if I thought of myself as a host just walking around town? And if I'm a host, when I host something at my house, I recognize that the star of the show is the guest that's coming in to be served. Yeah. When I host someone, anywhere someone is hosting someone else, by kind of nature and by definition, the star of the show, the person being served, is not the host, it's the guest. Mm-hmm. And so even that, to your point, the aforementioned trash people who are now appropriately named custodial hosts and hostesses, Robert at bgcovenant.org, we can see that even considering the title matters. And so are we, as believers, are we making our way through the world? Are we making our way through a Sunday morning? Are we considering ourselves hosts and looking for the opportunities? Or are we really seeing ourselves as guests in the world that need to be served? And so we're back to that same idea maybe of like, is this about me or is it not?
Right. I remember a sermon I listened to at some point, and one of the lines in the sermon was pointing out that Sunday morning was an opportunity for discipleship. That often when we think of discipleship, we think of a coffee cup somewhere at a coffee shop, and it's this carved out, real specific hour, and there is certainly room for that. And there's necessity of that taking place. But that Sunday morning when you come to church, that's an opportunity for, I'll expand it for evangelism and discipleship. That it's not the box that we like to put it in. And your whole life, to take it even further, is an opportunity for evangelism and discipleship, to make Jesus known experientially. I think that's one of the things that I love about Disney, is that it's not just a story being told via a book that's being read to you. It's something you're actually experiencing. It's something beyond words. It's something that you can experience and feel and know in a more intimate way of, oh, I am seen, I am cared for. And what other great first step of the gospel is that God sees you, God cares. And so if that is the doorway through which we can shine the light of Jesus, let's go for it. So that's one of the things that inspires me.
Yeah. So their radical hospitality in a hospitality industry, in a business designed to separate you from your money, and the way they do that is through incredible experience in hospitality. If our mission is to know Jesus and make him known, how do we help people experience that in our hospitality, in our service, in our discipleship efforts, in any Sunday morning? That's really interesting to me, that we would, by learning someone's name, by whatever it is we're doing on a Sunday, by seeing an individual, we are participating in inviting someone into the experience of kingdom life. And that's something that would fire me up. That's inspiring to me. Okay, that's You said we blended 1 and 2, so maybe I've already ruined number 3. What's the third thing, though? If I haven't already ruined it, what's the third thing, unless it's with trash people or trash persons, trash individuals? Is it doing with trash, or is there something else that we need to lean in on when it comes to what we can learn on how we get better as we learn from who's doing it best out there?
Actually, we've already started leaking into it, and it's this whole family experience. So it's the experiential aspect of it, but specifically the whole family experience. I talked earlier about, yes, trash related. One of the early conceptions for Walt Disney in creating Disneyland first was him sitting on a park bench, watching his child on a merry-go-round, and there's trash on the ground, and there's another parent nearby, and everybody's just kind of grumpy and hot and sweaty, and the kid's having a great time, but I'm just sitting on a bench. Surely there has to be a better way. And so one of his main goals was, can we all have fun together? Disney adults get a bad rap. But that was part of the goal, was that adults would have fun at Disney parks in this experience, that it wasn't just for the kid. It's primarily about the kid. And there's something for everyone. And so that's one of the things I love about experiencing the parks, and to think about the church, that there's something for everyone, that everyone has an idealized picture in their mind of what the perfect Christian should look like. And yet the only perfect Christian who ever lived was Christ, 1. And then 2, the perfect Christian for you is you, empowered by Christ. So the perfect picture of you as a Christian still looks like you. And what would Christ do if he were you? And so it's a whole thing.
Where does that take us when it comes to the idea that there's something for everyone? Is that a challenge for the every local church? Because the local church is not Disney World, and we don't have billions of annual revenue to make sure that we have the incredible experience for everyone. What does it look like, kind of shrunken down into like, what's my next right step? What's the first way I can begin to live that out? Is that something that I can relate to and approach? Is that something we need to kind of turn over and study as the church in the modern world? Is how do we better serve the whole family? Kind of where do you land on what do we do with that? Because that's absolutely true. What is the church doing well with that? What could we do better? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, my mind goes a couple different directions with that. I think so. Disney adults have a bad rap. I think church kids have a bad rap. I think we actually have it flipped, and often, where we have kids care so that they can be out of the way, while the adults do like the real work of Christianity and things. And I mean, we've said it with like students before at our church, that we don't believe our students and our kids are the future of the church. And it's because we believe they're the church right now if they have the Holy Spirit. And they're just as much in need of discipleship and training and participating in the work of the church, and the mission of the church. And so that's one thing, I think, is the whole family experience, that it's not just about, okay, keep busy while mom and dad figure it out, but how are we all in this together and growing together? And there's something to be said there, and a whole rabbit trail, and people who have a lot to say about those things.
Is it sort of like, I mean, it almost sounds, and this may just be where my head is lately, but it almost sounds like you're challenging us to invest in the whole family experience, because who serves the family of the local church? It's not some outside group. We're not contracting it. It's us. So is there a sense that there should be more passion, and there should be more drive within the local body to serve every demographic, every generation, and whether that's elder care or inclusion in special needs, or students, youth, kids, is that kind of the thing? Like, we need to be more aware that everybody needs to be served, and not is that just one more instance of you telling me we got to stop thinking about ourselves and start thinking about everybody else?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because it does, just like we've said before, it takes work to think about someone other than myself. And not even just someone other than myself, but someone unlike myself too. I am not 10. And so it takes work for me to think, wait, what's a 10-year-old like into and thinking about? I'm not 80. And so it takes work for me to be like, to think about, what are they thinking about? What do they care about? What is their life experience? And to be accommodating to them is different. And the same can be said cross-culturally as well. Not everyone looks like me, not even just from an age perspective, but from a cultural and ethnic perspective. And so to be aware of the other takes work, to be curious and humble and to ask good questions and be ready to serve.
No, that's really good. And that sort of wraps your 3 in one big thing. And it really is just like, am I others focused?
Mm-hmm.
Am I willing to do, and maybe I've said it, accommodating doesn't cost me anything. Real, true, deep Christian empathy does cost me something, which is the energy of trying to put myself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Can I remember what it's like to be new at a church? If I can't, I'm not going to be very accommodating to someone who is. Can I remember what it was like to be 16? No? Well, I got to try to get there so I can serve someone who's 16. Or can I imagine, when we don't have remembrance, we have imagination. Can I imagine what it would be like to be a single mom, to be a widower, etc.? And that holy imagination might drive us to something really powerful if we would harness it. But it requires us getting out of the way, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So we've got 3 things we've tackled. I think we have a lot to chew on and probably a lot to implement. Do you have a final thought, a big encouragement, or something I didn't ask you I should have? Is there one more thing you'd want to give us before we sign off?
Well, in general, I just think as members of the body of Christ that we are all witnesses to the greatest story ever told. Disney is famous for their storytelling. They do a great job. We have a better story. And I think we should aspire to be going to great lengths to tell that story really, really well. And like I said earlier, I don't just mean just through preaching and listen to this sermon or this podcast even, but experientially, that we should aspire to go to great lengths to showcase the love of Christ that we have received. We've been given so much. And so to give it away is such an incredible honor and blessing that the God of the universe would entrust us with his mission to reach the world, to seek and save the lost, that we get to participate in that. And it's just such a blessing to be able to be a part of that process, and something that is exciting when we get the chance to see that taking place and be a part of it.
I love it. It's a perfect challenge, perfect way to end. Robert, thank you for your passion and insight, not only in what you do, but in challenging us to be better and how we get better at telling the greatest story ever told. So thanks for making time for us today. Thanks for being a part of this whole thing. And for everyone listening, thank you for following along, for applying this as we go, that we might be the better version of ourselves as we try to make Jesus known. Thank you for being part of the conversation, and we look forward to hearing you back on our very next Covenant Conversations. Covenant Conversations is produced by Jake Trethaway and Robert McMahan. It's recorded at Covenant Church in the beautiful frozen swamp of Bowling Green, Ohio. For more information, visit bgcovenant.org.